wait, not yet. It's not time for yet. Boom. Okay, now you can have input. And then, like, the next day, okay, we've made the decision. So it's a
not
really
taken
tricky
into consideration.
Yeah, and it causes a lot of frustration, and it causes a lot of frustration amongst some of the people who are the most engaged in their community, because they're the ones who are out at these
associations.
meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, we're ticking off the people who are most involved in their community. That's how you get an adversarial relationship between neighborhoods and city government, and that's not what we want.
Yeah, and I hope that changes. It'll be very interesting to see who will head the planning committee taken over for Peter Hume in the
the scuttlebutt is it'll be Jan Harder.
Is that from
Because she
Barhaven?
was she was
she would go in when he was
she was
not available,
vice chair or whatever, and I mean she's not losing her seat.
No,
she's not getting challenged at all.
No, and Barhaven has the lowest early voter turnout as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so before we get to the specific ridings, just a couple quick questions. Do you see ranked balloting coming in for next election?
If you'd asked me a month or two ago, I would have said no. I would have said definitely not. There's a movement there, but I didn't think it was going to really go anywhere, unfortunately. It's starting to gain momentum now, and a lot of people and a lot of local politicians, people who have either run municipally or at other levels of government, are starting to sign on. Like, for instance, Rob Decker, who ran for the Tories in Ottawa Centre back in June, he's a supporter of it now. So it's also being pushed by Kevin O'Donnell, who is the Green Party candidate. So, you've got people like across the spectrum who are starting to come together to put this together. So it's possible. I think it's more possible than I really would have thought it was back in the summer. But I don't know enough to make a prediction.
I, for one, hope so. What about, there's some municipalities testing online voting this year. Do you see in 4 years we might be able to finally learn how to get that going?
I would love to see that happen.
Yeah. I think more younger people, I think, would end up voting in that case. But.
Absolutely.
It might depend on the makeup of council. I honestly don't see a council similar to our current council, the outgoing one, and I don't see Jim Watson really making that a priority just yet.
Yeah.
So I would imagine we're probably at least another election away before that.
Security-wise, it's going to be a little challenging.
Well, we'll see from the other. We'll see what the other municipalities say. But totally agree with you. All right.
You said there were 6 new councillors going to be coming in. Do we see a change in age groups for people that are becoming councillors now versus before? Do we have more young blood coming in,
and females versus male ratio?
I don't think we're going to see more young blood coming in. You look at someone like Steve DeRoche who's leaving. He's not particularly old in terms of council. He needed time off. Same with Peter Hume. Peter Hume was quite young, but he'd had enough. It's a taxing job. I don't blame people for needing a break,
especially with the internet and Twitter and accessibility.
And you're not seeing a lot of really young people running for council, and a lot that are. They show their inexperience, even if they're well-meaning, even if they've got a lot of promise. Like, say, Jeff Koshik in River Ward, he looks like he's got a lot of promise, but he's just a little too green right now. Mm-hmm. So I don't see us getting younger. Unfortunately, I don't see council even retaining the gender balance. I mean, not that we've had gender balance, but I see it getting worse.
And that's unfortunate. I do see that as well. And Joanne wrote that in the Ottawa Citizen recently. All right, well, we'll take one quick break, listen to one more song from Lemon Cash. This is All I Wanted, and we'll be right back going through several of the ridings. We'll ask who get to know the main contenders. Has Jonathan's views changed since the start of the campaign? We'll go through some predictions and what have been the most prevalent topics in debate. So we'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right, thank you so much, Lemon Cash. So that was All I Wanted, and you'll be able to see them on Twitter, on Facebook, and hopefully in a lot of local clubs coming up shortly. So, Jonathan, let's go right into Somerset. So this is, Diane Holmes is leaving, and you have a wealth of good candidates, and then I'd say about 6 main contenders. So, what are your thoughts early on?
I'd agree with you in terms of quality candidates. There are 6 very good candidates. I'm confident we probably make a good councillor, and that's of the 11 total that are running. The 6 strongest, as I see it, are Martin Canning, Catherine McKenney, Jeff Morrison, Connor Mead, Thomas McVeigh, and Denise Schreibert. Schreibert's the one who I see as a step behind the other 5, just not out there quite as much. Mm-hmm. The front runners for this have always seemed like Catherine McKenney and Martin Canning. They were 2 of the first ones out of the gate. McKenney is a city hall worker and seems to have the machine, and she has the blessing of Diane Holmes, so that was a big get for her. But Canning has run initially the most engaging campaign with his new Ottawa campaign.
That's right.
He talks about all the time. But he sort of slipped a bit, in my opinion, because he hasn't really taken that next step after citizen engagement to really presenting a full vision, except in terms of developing green businesses and green buildings and improving the cycling and pedestrian infrastructure, which are important things in the ward. But he hasn't presented much more than that from what I've seen. Connor Mead has come out of nowhere to really impress and provide a really thorough platform. He made the statements in debates saying that he had the most extensive platform, and my thought was, oh, sure you do. And then I checked it out, and I'm like, maybe he does. There's more meat in Connor's platform than there is in Martin Canning's platform. Thomas McVeigh he is a good candidate, and it would be great if he was there. He's got this interesting breadth of experience. He's a small business owner.
He knows the community so well.
Yeah, and he's so involved in business development and making sure that we have proper business going on and we're economically viable. But he also wears his NDP affiliation on his sleeve. He calls himself a small business socialist. So it's an interesting mix, and probably a mix that's very good for City Hall and for urban planning. Still, I don't see him quite getting there. Jeff Morrison is the candidate that's most intriguing to me now. He's been really involved in the community. He started a little bit later than the others, but he has started to be really strong. He was the strongest in the televised debate. He was also the most engaging. So he appeared to have a really good platform, as well as the ability to actually be a leader and have his voice heard at council.
Very well spoken, yeah. That's my agreement.
And he just comes off as a really nice guy. Maybe he isn't in real life, but that's not what's important for a politician. You have to come off as a nice guy, and that's the way he comes off. And I really think that he might come through and take this. I'd say it's between Morrison and Canning right now. And mostly I say that because Canning has been a front runner for so long and has run a slick campaign. I don't mean that in a negative way. But Morrison, there's more and more buzz about him, and I'm hearing more and more people talk about him. So he could come up and surprise people. A month ago, I would have put him as like the 5th of the 5.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about, what do you think are some of the major topics of the debates and Somerset that they are discussing?
Somerset, you're looking at traffic, and specifically you're looking at like getting the LRT built so you can get the buses out of our roads downtown.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a lot of talking about cycling infrastructure, better pedestrian infrastructure, moving to the complete streets model, which is really important. And ironically, we're right near Carlingan Church, where we finally opened our first complete street in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And those are 2 of the biggest ones I would say that's going on. There's also a lot of social issues that Somerset Ward talks about. They talk about social issues probably more than the candidates in any other ward. It's almost like a provincial or federal debate, because they're talking about childcare spaces, they're talking about social housing, they're talking about supervised injection sites, because these issues fall so hard on Somerset Ward that they know that these are some of like the nitty-gritty details that councillors need to take care of in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going with your prediction of the winner is
I'm saying Morrison or Canning. I can't pick between the two.
Okay, so Morrison or Canning.
Yeah.
Our next one is Rito Rockcliffe. So I don't know as much about this one. We have Peter Clark, who's the incumbent, Cam Holmstrom, Javon Nicholas, Toby Nussbaum, Sheila Perry, and Penny Thompson. How has that race been going?
This one's kind of all over the map. Peter Clark is the incumbent, and he's a long-time politician here in Ottawa. He served the community really well for decades. But honestly, it's time for him to step aside. Mm-hmm. It's time to get a new voice in there. And he hasn't really been that active on the campaign. You haven't seen him out as much. He hasn't always been as lively in the debates. He has at times. He's definitely engaged. But it's clear that council needs to move on and the ward needs to move on. Toby Nussbaum is the first major challenger that I saw appear on the scene in Rito Rockcliffe. And he is a very strong contender. He's a former diplomat. He understands the political game. He understands working with people and getting stuff done. He also has an excellent vision for the city and for the ward. He's very much into the sort of new urbanism school, working towards having better urban developments, containing sprawl, placemaking, those sorts of things. And he has an extensive platform that he's had out since pretty much day one. Mm-hmm. So he's really taken the lead, and from all the reports that I'm seeing, he is always one of the top candidates that's mentioned. After that, it gets a little muddy as to who's really a good contender. Because the first thing I should say is that all of the candidates are good candidates. There's no weak point. There's no court jester in this group. I thought Cam Holmstrom was a big contender for this. He's a Parliament Hill staffer, another NDP guy, and I figured that with that experience, he'll probably have the sort of the political sense, probably some of the machine to actually get this done. And you can tell that he's comfortable in the world of politics, but I'm not sure he's actually getting the traction that I expected him to. Sheila Perry is another one that's running, and she's very good. She was actually endorsed by Ken Gray, former Citizen reporter who now runs the Bulldog. Yeah, that's his choice. I didn't see her as quite challenging Nussbaum or Holmstrom, but she's very good. Javon Nichols is another strong candidate. I think he's still a little raw. I'm not sure he's quite ready for prime time, shall I say, for cliche. But he's good and he's an interesting candidate. And I'm hearing from some of the people who are covering these races that he really does look like a good contender. And the scuttlebutt is, and this is what Joanne Chanello from the Citizen has reported, that he has a very good get-out-the-vote team. And we don't talk about that a lot in municipal politics. We talk about it more in federal or provincial politics. But your get-out-the-vote strategy can really make a difference, because if you can identify your supporters and make sure they get there, because you can have like 50% of the ward saying they're going to vote for you, but if only 10% of those people make it out to the polls, well, you're not going to win. So Nichols supposedly has a very good machine behind him, so that'll be an interesting thing to watch. I still think it'll be Nussbaum who takes it, and I think that will be a very good thing for the ward and for council. And
what is the one main topic that they've been talking about on debates? They've been most important things in the Rito Rockcliffe area.
Smart development.
Smart development.
Definitely. Just like so many of the other downtown or urban wards.
Okay, so that brings us to Rito Vanier. It's looking like a three-person race in this one. Where do you see this going, and what are your thoughts?
Definitely, it's three-person race between Matthew Fleury, the incumbent, Marc Aubin, and Catherine Fortin-Lefebvre. I think this one's going to Aubin. I think he has the long-term experience in the community, working on the community, fighting to make King Edward and Rito safer, because the safety along Rito Street and King Edward is a big issue. We're seeing people hit, we're seeing people die. It's horrible, and the city isn't doing hardly anything about it. Aubin is fighting for that, and he has been fighting for that for a long time, and I think that that's going to really swing it for him. He also has a wonderful vision. He's put out these 50 or 53 objectives, and they're not all going to get in, but it shows that he has an idea of the way the city should be, and if his vision is implemented, it really would transform the Byward Market and Lower Town and Vanier, and it would be wonderful for the residents. I think that Matthew Fleury, though he's been strong as a councillor, he has some issues about whether or not he's really accessible, and he has a conflict of interest with one of the major developers in the ward that really hurts him, and I just don't think he's going to be able to get over that with a strong contender.